Hi guys! In this video, we did the vapor barrier around our house. Now I'm going to tell you some tips and rules about installing the vapor barrier. To do the vapor barrier, you need to use poly. We are using 6 mil poly and we bought it in rolls of 10 feet. The whole vapor barrier is mostly poly. And to attach the strips of poly together, you can use acoustic sealant and tape. And now I am going to tell you about the rules about doing the poly. The poly we bought is 10 feet wide because our walls are 9 feet high, and in the rules you need to leave a 6-inch overlap on each side of the poly. My dad is marking 6 inches off of each end of the poly so that it will be easier to put it up. And we are cutting the poly as big as we can so that we have to do less connections when we put it up. Then my dad uses staples to attach the poly to the top plate. Now my dad is working on the fan in the bathroom. He is cutting a hole for the fan in the poly, and then he is going to go around with acoustic sealant and then staple the poly in place to the stud. Here is how we attach the poly together. It's on a stud, so it's stapled to the stud. Then we also use acoustic sealant to go over the stud in between the two polys. And also you can see there's a thin line of black marker. That's where we measured our poly, the 6 inches off the end. And for extra, we also did a strip of tape to also attach the pieces of poly together. And when we install the drywall, the acoustic sealant will be pressed and it will be airtight so that no vapor will be able to pass through. For the poly around the window, just like for the seams, we attached the poly with staples to the studs, and then we went with acoustic sealant so that when we put the drywall up against the wall, it will all be airtight and no vapor will get through, just like on the seams. For the outlets we got, they have this foam around them, and that's instead of the sealant, so that when we put the drywall up around the outlets, the foam will be pushed and no air or vapor will be able to get through because it will be airtight. When we came down to the floor with our poly, we also stapled it to the wood, and we went over with acoustic sealant so that also it will be airtight so that no vapor will be going through our wall. Also, I would like you to pay attention to the corners. It is a very common mistake to make them tight, and then when you put the drywall up after, the drywall will break. When you put the corners up, you have to make sure that they are spacious so that when you put the drywall up, it will not break. Right now we are in the garage, and when we did our installation, we didn't install any insulation in our ceiling. That is because we are going to do blow up installation, and we have an access hole here where we are going to put it through. And we also have another access hole in our house. Here is the access in our house so that we can do the blow-in insulation. It's easier to do the pulley in the garage because in the garage we don't have the framing, but in the house we have the framing, and we have to have pulley going continuously around the whole perimeter, and we have to have it going behind the wall. So when we did our framing, we put a strip of pulley behind it and then attached the 2 strips we had coming so that all of the poly is continuous around the whole perimeter of our house. Here are some more videos of the process of us doing the poly. Here you can see that we put safety first, and my dad is walking along one piece of wood to put the poly up above our entrance. Also, we weren't very lucky because the poly seam came right in between the entrance. So after my dad had put up the poly, he also had to go over with acoustic sealant and tape to connect the 2 pieces of poly together. Like I said earlier, we cut the pieces of poly as big as we can so that we have to do less connections. And here you can see my dad has gotten tangled under a giant piece of poly. And that's it for this video. Thank you to everyone who watched to the end. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you to everyone who liked and subscribed. Bye!